welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. We are going to continue our playthrough of chapter number 2 for the Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon. This is a pre-Kickstarter prototype, so all the rules that you're seeing during this prototype may and can change during the Kickstarter, which is still ongoing with about 8 or 7 days left as of this video launching out into the wild. But one thing I want to make mention of right off the bat, guys, is the giveaway. First off, if you are a subscriber to the channel already, then make sure that you get your name in for this particular giveaway. It's going to be including the Tainted Grail, the core pledge, as well as the Lord of Hellas core box, which is awesome. In order to get into this giveaway, just check the link in the description below and you can get your entry in. Now, for those of you that are brand new, the only requirement is that you're a subscriber to the channel. That is it. Nothing else. So get in there if you want a chance to win. But if you're here just to see the playthrough, there's nothing wrong with that as well. So let's dive into some corrections to start off, as we always do. Some of these are rule changes that occur during the Kickstarter as it's progressed, and some of them are just some mistakes that I've made along the way. We had 2 mistakes that I want to talk about that I made in the last video, and then one thing that I just want to update you on in terms of something I didn't fully clarify in the last video for those of you that are curious. So without further ado, let's move into the corrections. So you guys may remember this from the last video, but during the last video, we went ahead and I revealed 133, which was up here. And you might have wondered why I was able to do that, being that it is 2 away from a active menhir, which is right there. So the only reason that I actually did that during the playthrough was to show you that the prototype that I have doesn't allow all options and paths out from where we currently are located. What I didn't specify in that video was that I was just showing you guys that, not that it would necessarily stick around. So I did leave that card there during the playthrough, but I have and will be taking the card away because we haven't actually brought up a menhir or gotten to an adjacent location to reveal that particular card yet anyway. But at least you know that there's certain parts of the land that I can't explore during this playthrough and will only be flushed out during development as well as in the final product. So that's the quick FYI that I wanted to give you guys, but there are 2 corrections that I want to make, so let's do those ones now. The biggest correction that I want to make right now is about the 2 days that we went through in the prior video where we had our main character here rest. And we all know, except for me, during that last video, that we still have this festering wounds, and it's a weakness that our main character has to deal with at all times. But it has been festering away in my brain so much that I keep forgetting to do it. Now, I haven't forgotten in a lot of the other parts of the journey up to this point, but in the last one, I didn't catch myself as I had done in the past. So we are going to have to adjust our health value, but it's going to instantly affect our energy as well. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. We're going to be knocking down our health by 2 because we went through 2 rests in a row where I didn't go ahead and drop my health down as I should have, and I just gained health back. So technically our health, instead of being at 5, in order to balance this out, is going to go down to 3, which in turn is going to knock our energy for this coming day to 4. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start right there, and that's how I'm going to correct that. We're going to move forward because, of course, at this particular point, we've already moved past spending energy that we might have not had from the prior video and that type of thing. We might be off by 1 or so, but it's really not going to make too much of an impact on the gameplay. I do apologize for missing it, and I'll definitely be watching for it going forward. So that's the biggest correction I want to make mention of. We have 1 more to do, and then we can dive right into a brand new day. All right, this next one is more of an FYI than an actual correction, but I thought it was worth mentioning because it's just something that I missed and something I'll be looking out for going into this video. Hopefully I don't do it again, because this was a nice benefit that I didn't take. But essentially, when I was fighting the Whispering Wisp in the last video, we had more than enough value of our combat sequence in order to take this thing down. But essentially, I was using the Old Steel Smasher, which you can see at the very bottom says that normally, actually at the top, it says you get 1 to the value of your sequence, but if it's a purple encounter, you get 2 instead. So basically, my hammer actually does a better job against purple encounters than the norm. So essentially, I just didn't take advantage of that, but I didn't also need it because I was able to get 4 within my sequence anyway. But it's worth mentioning, something to remember as we go forward. If we see purple encounters, we can know inside that we have a slight better advantage going into that combat. So that's going to cover all the corrections. We're now going to dive into a brand new day and start part number 5. All right, so at the end of the last video, we revealed to the north the Titan Steps. To the south of us, where we're currently located at the farmhold, there was the derelict fleet. Now, currently on our location, off screen, it says to draw a purple encounter when you enter the location we're currently in. So we really don't want to be going back and forth over that too much, but we remember the fact we have a hammer that does quite well with purple encounters, so it's really not as bad. But I really want to progress the story here, and if you guys remember from earlier on in the chapter 2 introduction, one of the objectives was to head towards what's called Camelot. And when I revealed this Titan Step card, you'll see there in the flavor text that it mentions Camelot, and that automatically intrigued me at the end of the last video. However, I didn't mention that, but I want to mention that now, that is something that I'm kind of gunning for, because that's one of the 3 different ways that we can progress the story. So this is the one that's kind of jumping out at me at the moment, and also sounds extremely cool to go explore. At least hopefully it doesn't end in something bad happening, but it looks good to me. So how about, with the 2 energy that we have this day to use without becoming exhausted, because we want to avoid at all costs getting any more festering wound hits, how about we go ahead and we spend 2 energy to get into the Titan Steps area and climb those, because essentially thematically when we move from here to here, it costs us 1 energy as it always does. So we're dropping from 4 to 3. We still have 1 more energy to spend, but the second we move into the Titan Steps, we lose an energy because basically we're climbing this mountain, and then we move into the exploration journal and read from there, which sounds kind of interesting. So we've now expended all of our energy that is basically free to use before we become exhausted. Might as well read this flavor text here on the card as well for the Titan Steps. On their way to Camelot, pilgrims used to leave rocks under one of the cliffs. Today, ramps of pebbles make the journey faster, though not much safer. So we've definitely run into a situation here, but I want to explain why the card's flipped over, because normally we have to explore in order to actually flip a card over. What you'll notice though is at the front of the card in the last section there, we had to spend an energy and then go to the journal. So basically what that's telling you to do is you don't have a choice. You have to spend energy and you have to progress the story at the Titan Steps and go to the journal and resolve it. And the journal references this on the back of the card as well. So just so there's no confusion that I'm not taking an additional energy to explore, this one counts as part of that bolt, which automatically triggered and cost me a 2nd energy. We still aren't exhausted, but we now have to read this back of the card and also make decisions on what we're going to do here, and also find out what's exactly happening. So this is the Titan Steps again. It says, these great terraces and steps fit more for giants than men, offer breathtaking vistas of the rest of the island, and plenty of opportunities for a deadly slip. Regardless, they were popular with hermits who lived in their many caves. On one of the uppermost terraces rests a temple of the All-Mother. It is now under siege by a large group of armed men, spewing curses and erecting pyres by its sloping walls. At this particular time, we're supposed to put a time token on the dial, if not yet present, which there isn't one, and turn the dial to 3. If the time on the dial already ran out, remove this location card and replace it with location 125. And then we choose one of the different verses to go to based on whichever selection we want through this journal. So first off, let's deal with adding the dial to this card. All right, so the time token's in place now. The time token's actually pointing on the dial to 3, so we have 3 days before this location card basically disappears. My guess, based on the text here that we've just read, is going to be something along the lines of that besieged temple going south. And bad things are going to happen, then that temple may no longer be accessible to us, would be my guess. And maybe the land itself will change. So who knows? That's just me guessing. I haven't actually experienced this, so I'm not 100% sure on that. But it's a time token on a location, so I'm guessing it's bad. And it did say that it would discard this location. So let's try to do something productive on it before things go south. Now, the only thing that's a little scary is I only have 3 health. So I've run into a situation here that I did not expect, which is a besieged temple. I am not in the best shape to be running in there to do any type of diplomatic or combat type situations. I'm probably not going to be able to handle them very well, and I'll likely maybe die trying. So this might not be the best time to do that strategically. It might be better for me to let some time slip and then come back. and give it a shot when I'm a little healthier. So I don't want to do nothing, because you can choose to leave and just do nothing. But there are two other options here besides going to the Besieged Temple. That's one of them, and that's one of the ones I don't want to do just yet. But the other ones are search the Hermit Caves. So basically the flavor text mentioned Hermit Caves, and there's being some stuff in there. Maybe there's something worthwhile in there. Who knows? Or we can sit on a cliff and enjoy the view. So basically just sit there and do nothing and just look at the majestic beauty of the land, although it's kind of covered in darkness at the same time too. So who knows what I'll see. Maybe I'll see something in the distance that I can, reveal as a location or something. Who knows? I don't really want to go to the Besieged Temple, and the caves sounds like a good idea because it sounds like you're searching the caves, but I'm a little scared I'm going to find something in there that's going to attack me. So again, I feel like those are two that are more like guaranteed bad situations happening when my health is very low. So in order to avoid that, I'm actually going to do the most calm and peaceful option of all of them, which is to just sit on a cliff and enjoy the views. So this is going to have me read verse number 9. So verse number 9 says, "You can see your home from here." Oh, that's kind of cool, actually. So I'm on the Titan steps high up, and I can see all the way back to the farmhold. And it says here, "The rolling clouds of pure weirdness look like they're about to swallow it whole." Okay, that's really thematic. You guys can't see it, but essentially my farmhold really is on the edge of darkness and blackness. So because of where the menhir currently sits. So that's actually kind of cool. And it's very true, even just looking at the game board. Downside of this is I gain a terror. So basically I just gained a terror from seeing that. So I'm going from 0 to 1. Now I'm not above my cap of where my health limit is. So I'm not going to be taking, I'm not going to be drawing one less card going into any kind of combat, but I do take a terror and my exploration ends. So that actually was not what I was hoping it would be. I was hoping I'd get some kind of recovery there on some energy or some health, because it kind of sounded like that was what would happen, but it did not. So that's pretty uneventful for the first time, but we are safe, I guess, in this case. So at this particular time, we're gonna go ahead and flip this card back over, and we'll keep the dial there, and that's gonna probably end our day, as I do not want to put myself into exhaustion. All right, so I wanted to show you guys kind of an overhead shot again to remind you that thematically that journal entry that we chose to sit on a mountain and see our farmhold way off in the distance was really cool, because of the fact that really there is darkness kind of almost ready to engulf the farmland, letting us know, or farmhold, letting us know that bad things are going to happen. And it's just cool to read that in the story and then look at the game board and see that that actually makes sense. So again, it's just all the tie-ins are really, really cool. The downside was the entry itself was not very exciting, and we actually gained a terror, which was not exactly how I thought that would pan out. But we are going to end our day here, so I'm not in exhaustion. I don't have to deal with festering wounds, and thank goodness I have one piece of food remaining, so that will also avoid me from getting festering wounds. But food is going to become a priority going into the next day for sure, so let's move into our end of day. So it's the end of day, so we're consuming one food, and we're going to go ahead and restore a health. That's awesome. So we're getting some of our health back. We don't have to deal with festering wounds because we're not exhausted, and we also get to reduce our fear by 1. So the fear we gained by looking out back at our farmhold and seeing that the darkness is ready to swallow it up, basically was just kind of one of those situations in the moment, but didn't really mess with us too bad, so that's good. Now we're going to go ahead and restore our energy. We were not exhausted, so because we weren't exhausted, we get to go all the way up, but we have a cap because our health is currently at 4, so the highest we can go is 5, and even though I have the +1 on my ability card to add an extra one, I can't take it because my cap of health is keeping me from this T kind of token from going any higher. So the best I can get is 5, but hey, at least it gives us 3 actions or energy to spend going into the next day, so it's not as bad. Now we can go ahead and spend any experience we want. I only have 1. I'm not going to spend any experience. We don't have enough to really do anything major. I could technically go into one of the decks and upgrade a deck card, but I want to get more in my attributes, I think, at this particular point, because I want to focus again on the diplomatic side of my character, which is by far my weakest side. It'd be really cool to get an empathy at some point, because it would allow in diplomatic situations that I'd have the ability to use any of the 3 types of cards that are in the diplomatic deck. Right now I'm kind of capping myself at using about 2/3 of it, so that's kind of a problem. So I need to get that in there, but that's going to cost me 2 plus 1 for the ability card and another one over here. That'd be 4 XP. So we got a ways to go before we can upgrade our empathy. So at this point in time, if there was a dream icon at Titan Steps, we would do that, but there is not a dream icon. So we have now finished the end of day and we can move into a brand new one. A new day begins, and this always scares me because the dials all get ticked down, and it just is another reminder of the clock that's always ticking, of the darkness that's basically surrounding this area, ready to consume me at any moment. This is always scary because I have to start thinking about how I'm going to get another menhir up, and when it gets into that 3, 2, 1 zone is when things getting a little bit worrisome for me. So we're going from 4 down to 3, and this is where we have to start thinking about, do we have enough to get the next menhir up in time before we end up losing this one, because 3 more available days or so is not exactly a ton of time. So we're gonna have to go ahead here and move that dial down, but not just this dial this time around. We've also got a location dial that's gonna go down as a siege is still happening at the temple. So again, at the Titan Steps, we have to knock this down to 2 and make sure our time token is pointing to 2. So time is slipping away from us. Our chances of actually going ahead and being able to intervene in this particular situation is going away. But again, I think I might wait one more day's worth or one more round of play and then go back on the last one to see if I'm strong enough to be able to take on whatever I have to deal with in that situation. And we'll see how it pans out. That's going to be really interesting. We may have to explore into some other area again, and we'll have a day to do that right now. But we have now turned down all the dials, so we have to go to the event deck and reveal the newest event card for the new day. And that's what happens when you spend the night looking at your farmhold from a distance. You get attacked. So basically, the event card going into the next day says Night Assault. Immediately draw and resolve a gray encounter. Discard it and draw another one if the value is higher than 7. So if the value is higher than 7, we don't have to fight off something that's too strong, but it's still going to be something. The trail is now more dangerous than ever before. Okay, well, here we go. We got no choice. So I pulled... Okay, there's no value at all on this card, so that's interesting. I think that's the first time I've ever seen a card that doesn't have a value. This is called the Wandering Priestess. Doesn't sound bad at all. She believes ancient customs will protect her on the trail. You wonder how long till she's proven wrong. You may heal up to 3... What? That's amazing. That is probably the best card I could have pulled ever from that deck. I didn't know there actually was good gray encounters the entire time I was playing this. So there's actually decent cards in this deck at times when we've ever only pulled bad things. So I guess there is a chance that good things can happen. And literally this couldn't have been any more perfect to set us up, because now we actually get some health back. Of course, I have to spend 1 wealth or 1 food, and I don't have any food, so I'm kind of forced into spending wealth if I want to do this. But I definitely want to do this, because this is a fast track to getting me ready to go back into the Besieged Temple and deal with whatever's going on in there. So this is amazing. So obviously, it would be silly of me not to spend the wealth. So I have 2 wealth currently. I am going to go ahead and spend 1 of those cubes. So now I have 1 wealth, and it says I may heal up to 3. So I'm literally healing 3. There's no reason why I would heal any less than 3. So I'm going from 4 to 5, 6, 7, which is 1 away from being full. That's so good. So much for the Night Assault. I guess thematically you could kind of weave a story in there. I don't know. Maybe somehow there was a bunch of bandits that came to try to attack you at night, and essentially they had this priestess as well with her, and you were able to fight them off, and then she offered to heal you. So there's all these different ways you can, of course, rationalize these different encounters and stuff like that. But I guess there are positive ones that can appear in the decks, and that's really cool to know, because I have not run into any of those off camera or even during this playthrough so far. Most of them have all wanted to just kill me. So it's nice to see that there's some positive stuff that can happen there. So that's pretty cool. And that's going to resolve the event phase, or not the event phase, but the new day phase. And we're going to go ahead now and move into during the day. All right, so a new day begins, and man, what a turn of events that was. That was amazing. So now we're going to actually save some time, because we were able to heal ourselves up so much that we can actually move into the Titan Steps now and actually try to resolve something. Maybe head to that Besieged Temple, see what happens. So I don't see a reason not to. We're there. I don't see, but leaving and coming back would just have us lose energy and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I can just choose to explore right now for 1 energy. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 energy, which is going to knock me from 5 down to 4. That's so good. I'm so happy about this. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to explore this location. So we already know the flavor text on this particular card. So we're flipping this over and we're going to go into the options for the journal, and we're going to go ahead and read out what happens when we head to the Besieged temple. An enraged crowd has gathered around the temple. They are building oil-soaked pyres by the walls, and some have even fashioned a battering ram out of an old tree trunk. Most of the men and women are afflicted by Red Death. You can tell from the bleeding fissures that started to appear on their skin. From their cries, you can gather they came here for one of the Knights of the Round Table, Lord Gawain. They say he tried to secretly flee from Camelot, carrying the sacred scabbard of Excalibur that, as folks' tales go, is able to heal any wound and stop any bleeding. Sounds like a really popular item for this particular crowd. Needless to say, the sick of the island feel the scabbard should have been given to them. They are furious at knights who kept the artifact under lock and key for so long. We have a few options here. The first one is try to reason with the crowd. The second is to attempt to chase them off, and that's really interesting. This one actually says right here, and we can actually see this, so this I can actually read out, but it says attempt to chase them off, take the secret card number 66, which I actually have no idea what that is, of course, and then draw and resolve the angry mob, gray encounter. Now we've seen that angry mob before, and we know it's decently powerful, and it was also really tough to beat and also beat us up really good, so that's a tough one. If we go for that one, we're going to be in for a fight, and even with my health being as high as it is, I could be going right down to the bottom of the barrel again real fast. So that's one option, or two options at least out so far. The third is to reveal the Grail. And we actually have to have the Tainted Grail card in order to reveal the Grail. So if we actually had it, we could reveal it. I'm assuming that would be really good for all the people that are there. They'd be very, very happy with that. Things would change. We have 3 different options. I can't do the third one. I could also just leave. So I actually can just leave the situation if I really don't want to fight. Or I could try to reason with the crowd. So this is where it gets interesting, because if I try to reason with the crowd, I might be able to use my diplomacy, which is now just a little bit better than it was before, in order to try to calm them down. But if it fails, then we're going to be looping right back around again, probably into an angry mob. So I've got a lot of decisions to make. Let's go ahead and figure this out. So a little bit of bad news here. The special card that was a secret is called the Red Sign. It's not a good thing. It says a strange blemish appeared on your skin. So I don't know if at some point in time the game's going to reference this card again, but if it does, it's probably not a good thing. So I've just contracted this exact same issue that all these people are dealing with outside of this temple by trying to push them all away and get them out of here. So that really did not pan out so hot for me. Well, just when I thought I would never see these guys again, I pushed myself right in front of them. I've got an angry mob here that I have to deal with. Now, one of the things you guys can't see from the exploration journal, in choosing the step that I chose, it says that if I win this, I move to another verse in the story. So even though a part of my brain is telling me to flee this fight, another part of me is telling me to try to win this fight. Because if I do, it actually has a story attached to it, because it says to go to a different verse if I win. I don't know what that is, but I'm really enticed by that, so I might want to try to fight them. Last time we did this, we probably got 6 to 7 value worth of our sequence, so we were almost halfway there or so before we decided to flee. I've got some time here, and I think it might be worth trying to take them down. Now that I have much better cards in my deck that don't end my turn, I might be able to make this work. So we're going to go into this and hope to take down the angry mob. All right, so my encounter with the angry mob, we got to choose which items we want to bring into this thing. So the first one I'm going to be bringing in for sure is going to be the Old Steel Smasher, which is going to give me that +1 value on my combat, so I'll have that in play. We're also bringing in some armor this time around. I don't even know if I actually had the armor last time we fought them, so this could actually help quite a bit, especially when they actually do 1 damage and 2 damage and 3 damage, so it could actually help quite a bit in keeping us alive. And then, of course, our Battle Horn, which has been giving us additional cards
cards as we've gone along. Thankfully, our health is so high up, we don't have to worry about any type of terror removal of an extra card when we go ahead and draw our first hand, so that's good news. So we can go into this very clean, very healthy. We're not full, but we are at 7 of health, just so you guys know that, and we need 14 to take this thing down. So let's go ahead and draw some cards. Now, just before we draw our cards, for those of you who have never seen the Angry Mob before and might have been watching this and have not watched the prior videos, there's a Guardian keyword, but this is going to change in terms of true solo. So I'm playing true solo with one character. When you play with one character, you ignore the Guardian keyword, currently based on the Kickstarter updates that have happened. There will not be an enemy if you flee this fight or fail it. The Guardians typically go back out onto the game board and basically are moved around the game board using a directional die during the gameplay. But if you're playing true solo, that does not happen because it just becomes overly difficult having all these mobs running around on the map. However, if you're playing 2 players or more, then the Guardian keyword would actually be in effect. And again, that rule could change by the time the game actually comes out, but as of right now, that is the ruling. The other text on the card here for the Angry Mob says opportunist. If you have less than 1 of caution, then you get an extra nice wound every time they attack. But the good news is I do have 1 in caution, so I had that from the beginning of the game, so they never get that additional bonus because I'm always a little bit cautious to avoid that. Otherwise, they're going to be hit me from all angles. But we are going to go ahead now and draw our cards to start off this combat for me. So the first one off the top is Outsmart. So we got this one. Preparation is +2 value if fighting a green encounter. Completely useless on that, but we do have a 1 value in the middle there. We can't even start off with this, but you'll see the Angry Mob, we need a double for courage or aggression or potentially magic. I do have 3 magic, so magic could be useful. I could actually use magic here to get that started, so that is doable. We also have risk. Oh, I love this card, Risky Attack. I haven't seen this in a while, but this card is one of the cards that I added to my deck, and it allows me to get a 3, which is a huge amount of damage. And then when I get to toss a dial and put it on the card. Now, if it's a skull side, I basically take damage. If it's grail side, it goes up to 5, which is crazy high. Now, taking damage isn't good. I really don't want to take any damage, but at the same time, I don't know. It's interesting because with this particular card, I believe my improvised armor would actually block against it because the card text says reduce the exact same symbol that it shows on this card. So my assumption would be is if I flip this, the risk is only 1 that it will come to me. So it's actually even better of a risk to try that. So I'm really happy I pulled that one. The next card I've got here is Hold Guard. So this one says ignore the next enemy attack and then drop after the attack. That's actually a really good card as well because it just stops the enemy from attacking, in general. So let's go ahead and see if I can somehow get these 3 cards to gel together. All right, so this should work pretty well. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use Outsmart because this allows me to connect at the magic. And this is the first time I've actually connected on magic ever because I don't want to waste any mulligans or anything like that. I want to get this thing going. We have a lot to work out here to get this Angry Mob to be defeated. So you have to place a magic cube there and spend that to connect those 2 together. We're also going to put a preparation time token here to let us know that on the next turn we're going to get +2 value if fighting a green encounter. It won't matter anyway, but I'm going through the motions with this card so you guys are aware of that's how it works. Next, we're going to go ahead, we're going to take Risky Attack. This is where things get fun. So it's going to connect just like this on our courage. No problem there. We're now going to toss a dial and we're going to cross our fingers that we land on the grail because it would be a huge bonus. So here we go. Oh, we got the skull. That's not what we wanted. So we didn't actually get what we wanted. So we were going to receive 2 wounds from the next attack. So this is really interesting though. Oh, this is actually very interesting because technically I gambled to do that. I received 2 wounds from the next attack, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use Hold Guard, which I'm going to connect on practicality, and it says ignore the next enemy attack and drop after the attack. So my question would be is if I'm ignoring the next enemy attack, I'm guessing, my assumption would be is I don't have to take the damage from the risky attack because I'm holding guard. That would be my assumption, but I could also see the other side of it where someone might say I still take the damage. Now, if I did take the damage in that situation, it would only be 1 because my improvised armor can block and reduce wounds. It has the exact same icon as what would be shown down here. But this is an interesting scenario because I could see this going either way. I'm going to say because it ignores the next enemy attack, and this one says receive +2 from the next attack. If I'm blocking the next one, then this bonus does not happen, or that does not affect me. So I'm going forward with that. That works out perfect for me. And we go into it with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've already got 5 on the value, which actually really isn't that bad. And we're going to go ahead here and basically activate the angry mob at this time. So by doing this, they're not going to attack in any way, but this card happens to drop. So this card is going to drop out of the sequence because it says, ignore the next enemy attack, but then drop after the attack. So it's kind of a weird wording, but essentially what it means is it's there, but then once the attack phase is over, the card needs to go away. So that's going to disappear. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move into another round where I'm going to draw some cards. Do we have a courage on the end of this? We do. We do have a courage. So the battle horn is going to allow us to draw an extra card this time around, which is nice. Now remember, this being on a skull side, you only flip this once. This isn't like an effect that just constantly keeps hitting me. It's a one-time flip. You either gain the additional +2 on the card or you gain some wounds. Because I played and had that whole guard card, I was able to avoid most of that. So here is the draw for the next round. We get 4 cards here. We have careful attack. So this one attaches on practicality. That would be perfect to start it off there. It says, if last in the sequence, when the enemy attacks, choose the attack instead of counting your total value. Interesting. Okay. The next one here we have, yes, we have one of the attack improved versions. This one allows me to draw extra cards and gives me 2 damage. Doing good so far. Feint, uncounterable. So this is one of those ones where if you can put that one in the sequence in the perfect spot, if the enemy's card has the counter card, if we actually have this as a last card, the angry mob, as you can see here in the combat table, has a counter last ability here from 5 to 8 where we currently are sitting. And if we happen to get that particular card at the end and it counters it, it turns into a 2, which is really good. And then lastly, for our 4th card, we've got Intimidate. So again, this one's not bad either. Preparation +2 if fighting a gray encounter. That was not a bad round at all. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see how we can tie all this in. Just before we move on, I want to make mention of the fact that during this particular round is when this token would come off, and this card would become +2 if we were fighting a green encounter going into this next round, but I'm not going to get the benefit of it anyway, so I'm just taking the token off. We're going to move those things down, and we're going to start attaching all the cards that I just drew because I found a wonderful way to connect them all in a sequence. The first card from my hand I'm going to connect into the sequence is called Careful Attack. This one is going to connect right here on Practicality, which is awesome. Now, again, at the very bottom there, automatically that text becomes available. It says, if last in the sequence when the enemy attacks, choose the attack instead of counting your own total value. Now, the thing is with that is I don't want that ability at the end. I want the Feint ability at the end because I want my Feint card to be the one that actually does get countered because it's uncounterable and gets stronger, and I would gain 2 for the rest of the encounter on that particular card. That's what I want. So I'm using this card here right now. Next, we're going to go ahead and put Attack Improved. This is actually a great example of how a sequence can pan out for you because so far I've been super lucky with this. We're going to connect up here on Aggression, which I do have, a point in Aggression. And we're going to move on with a 2 there, and it says Preparation, draw an extra card. So again, you don't get the card now. Preparation means the next time around it comes, when we're drawing cards, we'll gain an extra card. But right now, we just put a time token. It's kind of a wait for us, but that's good. The next card we're going to add into this pile is going to be on the courage side of things. I don't need to spend a magic, thankfully, for this one. And this one actually is called, and I'll just move these ones down the row because our sequence has actually gotten quite long. This is the longest sequence I've had so far this entire game. But this one now says Preparation Preparation +2 if fighting a gray encounter. So how awesome is that? The angry mob is considered a gray encounter. So because of that, we're going to be putting another preparation token on this one. And this is going to go up by 2 going into the next one. So again, like this is a phenomenal pull of cards. I haven't had to mulligan anything. Everything's been perfect. And the last thing that I want to add on the end, you guys know exactly what that is. The last card on the end is going to be Faint, exactly how I want it to be, with 1 point of practicality connecting there. Again, don't have to bother with the magic. Perfect, uncounterable. It's at the back. If the enemy tries to counter it, mark its value becomes 2 for the rest of the encounter. So I have so many things that are going to trigger for this upcoming round. It's going to be phenomenal. So as of right now, we have to figure out what our total value is in the moment, because we weren't able to stop the angry mob from activating on their combat table. So we got to figure out what our total is and then go to the combat table and resolve that. So here we go. And hopefully I don't have too much damage here, because if it's 12 or higher, they just run away. And I don't really want that. So right now I have 1 on the Outsmart card, which is out of view. I have 3 on Risky Attack, so that makes it a 4. And I never got that wonderful toss of the dial. I have 1 on Careful Attack, and so that currently gives me 5. I have 2 on Attack Improved, which gives me 7. I have 1 on Intimidate, which gives me 8. And then I have 0 on Faint, so I have 8, and then plus 1 for the Old Steel Smasher, so that's 9. So I have 9 damage. Now, what happens with 9 damage? The Angry Mob hits me for 3 wounds. It's the highest hit that they do besides running away, because I'm at 9 to 11. Thankfully, I've got my armor on, so that's good news. So the most I take is 2 damage, dropping me from 7 down to 5. So that's not too bad. I'm still kind of in the 75% range for health. This is where things get fun, because all those timer tokens are going to start coming off. But we did end with a courage on the end here open, so I'm going to get to draw another 4 cards, and we can go for a home run here and hopefully take this guy down. Now, what would be awesome is if I happen to pull like the final, I forget what the name of the card was, but I have something that's a really powerful kind of last card to use to put some serious damage on something. And if it lines up for that, that'd just be phenomenal. But we may not need it based on all these things triggering. So we're going to go ahead now. Of course, we're going to gain, because the time token is going to come off here. We now are going to gain an extra card, so that's fantastic. So now we're actually drawing 5 cards, so the chances are even higher. And we now go into this round knowing that this particular card is going to be +2 on it as well, so that's even better. So in order to remember that, I'm just going to go ahead and put 2 little cubes on here to remember that that card is now worth 3. And technically, oh, this is actually the nasty thing. I didn't realize this, but I never actually, I had too much damage, so I set myself up for Faint to get hit, but in the end, Faint actually didn't get hit or countered, because we ended up getting 9. So we ended up being 1 higher than what I thought we would have as a total. So I'm not going to go back and reverse all that. I could change my whole sequence in order to make that land perfectly. But I'm just going to continue on, because at this point I'm just excited. And we've got 5 cards coming to us. We should be okay. So here we go. First one off the top here is Powerful Attack. So this one is very aggressive. We receive wounds if it's last sequence when the enemy, or last in line when the enemy attacks. We have another Faint card. So look at that. We can actually, again, we can't use that now. We've kind of gone far past the ability to use that, unless I want to discard cards, which I really don't want to do. Third card is Battle Chant. Drop if the enemy deals 2 or more wounds in the next attack. That's not good. Gather Strength. This one's uncounterable. Drop if the enemy deals 2 or more. So we got a whole bunch of cards that are not very good right now. And then we got Bull Rush. Skip the next enemy attack, but we need a double on either of those. So those are my 5 cards to work with, and I think I just picked one up by accident. Yes, I did. I took my Faint card away. So let's go ahead and see how I can make these 5 cards work. And if I don't like what I'm seeing here, I may mulligan this for a draw of 4. All right, so I've got a plan of action. So basically what's going to happen here is I'm going to use Battle Chant and then connect this like this on my 1 point of courage. I'm going to get this preparation token to put it here, which I won't even need. So just so you guys know where the total is right now, is 9 is what the total value was in the last round, but we had a preparation token on a card that was called, Intimidate. And basically we get +2 value of fighting a gray encounter on the next, going forward, essentially. So we actually are at 11 now, plus we just added a 1 to it. So now we're at 12. Our Angry Mob has a total health of 14. If we can just land 14, we have won. We actually beat the Angry Mob. Even though they destroyed us the first time around, we are much better equipped this time than we were the first time. And the cards also kind of lined up really nice for us too, which was helpful. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I need to get 2 damage. So in order to make that happen, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put Gather Strength, which is going to connect on 1 point of aggression. And then as a final hit to this insanely long sequence, by far the longest sequence that I've played in this entire game so far, I'm going to play Powerful Attack. And that is going to be the 2 that I need to add to a total of 14 for a total of this. I got to count up the amount of cards in the sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I had 9 cards in the sequence needed to take down this angry mob. These guys are dead, and we just not only gained food, we gained back wealth, and we just got a whole bunch of experience. This paid off huge, and we're actually going to be able to progress through the story as well. So that's super exciting. I still had Bull Rush in my hand, and I didn't even need to use it. Now that was an epic fight, and we took down that angry mob, and I actually was kind of thinking we may not be able to do this. But the cards aligned, and we were able to make a sequence to get up to 14 damage, which is just absolutely crazy. So much fun taking that thing down. I did not think we were going to do that, so I'm actually really surprised. So we got 3 XP, so we're going to add 3 XP here to this pile, which is wonderful. Now it's up to 4, which is perfect because I really wanted to get my empathy up 1 more point, and it would cost 4 XP to do so. So we have the XP to do that now. Even better, we spent a wealth earlier, and now we're going to gain 2 wealth back. So we're a little bit more wealthy than we were before. And we're also going to gain 2 food, which was exactly what we needed. We needed food for the end of the day. So we resolved so many things with this particular encounter, like not only finding the priestess who helped us heal, which really gave us the courage, I guess, to go into battle against these guys. But when you actually think about it, we only dropped from 7 to 5 to take them out. We didn't even, I think I was at 3 when I healed. Yeah, because I gained, I was at 3, 1, 2, 3. No, I was at 4 actually when I healed because I went up to 7. So yeah, it would have been risky, pretty risky to still go in there because we did take some hits. But I don't know, it just gave me the courage to go in there regardless. So that was actually amazing. We resolved that angry mob, but the coolest part now is we get to progress through the story, which continues on now that we've defeated the angry mob. So let's see how this all pans out. So we're moving to, because we actually defeated the angry mob, we're moving to the verse number 5. You enter the temple, and Gawain is here, tended by 3 frightened priestesses of the All-Mother. Oh, interesting. So priestesses were actually inside this temple, which makes sense. And we had a priestess actually heal us on the way to this temple. That's so cool. He's heard everything. He gestures for you to come close. You see he's badly wounded. Apparently that scabbard that lies on a piece of red cloth beside him is not as powerful as some would believe. I thought we were lost, he says, but now, look, you seem more than capable. That scabbard here needs to reach Corbinic fast, but I'm not fit for travel. Besides, as you can see, traversing the island as an envoy of the Round Table causes some difficulties. Will you do this for me? Will you take it? So we can choose here what we want to do. One of the things we can do is to accept the quest. And if we choose to accept the quest, we follow that. Or we can choose to refuse it. I'm going to choose to go ahead and actually accept the quest because I want to see where this is going to take us. So Gawain smiles through his pain and hands you the scabbard. You see the glint of hope in his eyes. Gain restoring the order Gawain status. Take the secret card number 95. This is actually really exciting. I can't believe the tie-in there with the priestess on the road healing us and then being able to get through the crowd to get to, like, this is crazy. The tie-in is just so cool. Whoa. Oh my goodness, this is huge. We just gained the Excalibur Scabbard. So this is a special item. It says restore 1 more health during each rest. And the flavor text at the bottom of the card says, unlike the sword it held, it was made by humans, but it still carries a trace of legendary blade's power. That is awesome. So basically this is just going to give us a nice ability. So this isn't a weapon keyword. I can still use my hammer, but this is going to allow me to restore one more heart during each rest. On top of the fact I have an ability that allows me to restore one additional energy. So that's a great combo for my character. So that's really cool and definitely panned out nicely. Okay, so we're going to go ahead here and gain a new status. This actually hasn't happened in quite a bit. We've got ourselves a few statuses that we've gained throughout our journey so far, but there's a Restoring the Order and Gawain right here. So we're going to go ahead and put an X through that one. Really bad X, actually, one-handed. But we have now put an X in that save sheet. And we're going to go ahead here and read the new task that we've now accepted, or this new quest. It says, reach Castle Corbinic with the Excalibur's scabbard. Expiration ends. So we're just basically heading for the castle now. We got to find out where this castle is, and that's going to be part of the fun. We're now on an actual search for a location in the land of Avalon. So now the exploration is over. We're going to flip the card back to the other side, but just before we do, you'll notice at the very bottom, we have the ability to activate a menhir here in this particular location because of the icon on the other side of this card. We have to pay 3 energy to do it and 3 magic. Now, here's the sad thing. I only have 2 magic right now, and one of the magic I had to spend, because I originally had 3, I had to spend 1 in order to actually get that linkage going for that particular sequence that I had to defeat the angry mob, and we didn't get any magic back from them, which was no fun. So we're actually 1 magic shy of being able to put up a menhir there, but that's really the closest thing we have right now to progressing the story. So currently, again, our menhir that's lit is on dial set to 3. So we have a little bit of time to find some magic, but that's really a priority now, is to get the next menhir lit very soon, and it's got to be here because my guess would be that this city he wants me to go to is off to the northeast, which would be in this direction over here, because if I get a menhir lit there, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards around that we could potentially reveal through exploration, and that would be huge. So we really want to aim to do that. So in terms of this, we're going to go ahead now. We're going to flip this card back around, knowing that we still need to find 1 more magic in order to get this menhir built. And the dial, just so you guys are aware, that was currently in this location is still here. So in other words, we went there, we accepted the quest, we got the item from him, but the individuals that still want to take this temple down are still in there sieging. So we were only able to basically separate the angry mob long enough to get in there and accept the quest, but the battle is still raging on in that area when we leave, essentially. So that dial is still going to tick down, and this location is still going to change somehow in the future. So that'll be interesting to see what happens exactly. So our character's back on the spot. We have 2 more energy to spend during this day, and technically 4 if we want to burn ourselves to exhaustion. Now look what we have here way south of us, down at the very bottom right hand corner of our map. We have the derelict fleet. Now the interesting part about this is we have this location action that says scour the wreckage, pay 4 energy, that's an insane amount by the way, and then gain 1 fear as well, but you gain magic and XP. So if we want that magic and we want to guarantee it, this is literally the only place on the board that has a guaranteed magic coming at us, unless of course we get an encounter. Maybe we'll draw a purple encounter, or of course we will draw a purple encounter if we go through the first farmhold, which might give us magic because they're kind of usually typically entities, I guess, which we might get some magic from. But if we want to guarantee it, we could head this way. So why don't we head down to the first farmhold, see what purple encounter comes up. We may have to fight something. It might give us magic and might be good there. We can head back north, and if it doesn't, we have a backup plan of going to the derelict fleet and scouring the wreckage. But either way, at least we get to explore this other card that we revealed much earlier. So I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to spend an energy, bringing me down to 3. We're still not exhausted. We're going to move our character from the Titan Steps, and we're going to move into the first farmhold. All right, so we are going to draw a purple encounter when you enter this location. So let's go ahead and find out what we get. We got a weird child, and oh, this is actually pretty good. Let me show you guys up close what this thing has for us. So here's a close-up view of the weird child. This is definitely creepy. It says horrible things happen when the weirdness claims an unexpected mother. That is messed up, and I don't even know what to think about that, except it's terrifying. And that's exactly what this thing does. As you can see, terrors through the whole thing in the combat table. From 0 to 1, you'll get hit with terror. 3 gets hit with terror. 5+, you get hit with 3 terror. And even if you kill the thing, you still get hit with terror. It's crazy. And then, of course, there's some wounds mixed in there. 2 and 4, you're getting all of your cards in your sequence countered. That's ridiculously powerful. So you do not want to land on 2s and 4s unless you have a really bad sequence you want to get rid of. Other than that, this could be interesting. It's not a very high value card, so we should be able to beat it. The good news, the only good news about this card so far, is it gives us 2 magic. So this would actually, it would actually stop us from needing to go to the derelict fleet. So I guess we may never see what's there, but we actually have to beat this thing to get this. We get 2 XP too, so it might be worth giving it a shot. And we can always flee if things start to get ugly, but we definitely have a chance of going insane, which is quite scary. So going into this battle against the Weird Child, we are definitely going to be pulling out our hammer. We'll be using our improvised armor as well. So the armor, the hammer, and the battle horn as per usual for those 3 going into this one. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle our combat deck, draw some cards, and see where we stand. All right, so it's time to draw our cards. I'm just doing a quick shuffle here. We're going to grab ourselves 3 cards. We got Risky Attack. Love this card so much. Okay, so again, I get to do the whole dial flip thing and see whether things pan out for me. Gather Thoughts. This one's uncounterable. Drop if the enemy deals 2 or more damage in the next attack, so we'd lose it, which could cause a break in our sequence. Bull Rush. Skip the next enemy attack. Nice. Okay, and we can actually use that one right off the bat, so that's phenomenal. So that could really be a nice help. So let's see how we can make these 3 work. Well, that first hand actually did not work out for me. As you can see here, we're going to need vulnerability-wise, we need either 2 courage or 1 aggression. I don't have 2 points of attributes values in my courage, so I cannot connect a key to that. So that's another thing too, guys, as you're going through this combat to be aware of, is that just because you have the Bull Rush card and it has 2 of these on it, it's only if your attribute on your player board actually has both of them filled in that you can actually use both of the that particular key to connect. So in this case for Bull Rush, I can only use the aggression double. I can't use the courage double because I only have 1 point in courage. So that's kind of a kicker because I can't actually connect anything currently based on this draw. So I'm going to have to mulligan this and redraw 2 cards, hoping I get something decent. So for my mulligan draw here, we're pulling Discover Weakness, which is uncounterable. Skip your next turn. The enemy will attack twice. All cards in sequence after this one have +1 value. This is a terrible card to get early on, so this really did not help me at all. Final Blow. Ugh, that's not good either. Drop after the enemy attack, if not last in the sequence. Well, I guess if I put that in there, it will be last in the sequence. At least I get 2 damage, but you guys know what happens when I get 2 damage. He's just going to counter everything, which means I'm going to lose it instantly. But I guess I don't take any wounds, so I guess that's an easy way to get through the round. This is interesting. I could also pass. Now, if I pass, I get an extra card going into the next round if I chose to just pass and no more continuing with the mulligans. And I get an extra card going to the next round, but I would have to take a hit from him at 0, and that would be a damage and a fear. I don't really want to do that either. So the extra card doesn't make much sense. So you know what? I think I'm just going to do the Final Blow. So I think I'm going to stop mulliganing just because if I get down to that 1 card and I mulligan and it ends up not being what I want, I'll be in big trouble. I'll hold on to Discover Weakness as my 1 card to carry over because you can always carry 1 over. In the last battle, I was used like every card I had, so I never had to carry anything over. But I will connect this up here on aggression. So that's going to give me 2, and that's going to push the combat table to 2, which means he's going to counter everything, which means he's going to essentially get... Oh, actually, no, that's wrong because I have the Old Steel Smasher, which gives me +1. So it actually doesn't counter. It pushes me into 2 damage, 1 fear, which gets reduced by my armor by 1. Good thing I remember that's Old Steel Smasher. So that's actually only hit me for 1 damage, but I do go up 1 fear. So my damage goes from, I have 5 health, I go down to 4, and my fear goes from 0 to 1. So Interesting. I didn't lose anything there. And I got 2. So, and technically 3. So I'm halfway to killing it, and now we're going into a new round. So let's go ahead and draw cards for that. Do I have courage on the end? I don't. So I get no benefit from my battle horn. That's too bad. And it says down here, drop after the enemy attack, if not last in the sequence. It is last in the sequence, so it gets to stick around. So going into this particular one, we're going to draw 3 cards. And I got attack. Nice. I love it when I get this card because it's like I put this one in here specifically, and it's such a great one. Great damage and such an easy one to connect most times. We got hex here, so preparation when attacking a purple enemy. Only connects on magic. That's something I don't necessarily want to do, but I can do it if I have to. And then defend. Okay, so it's not enough to do what I really wanted it to do, or to do what I need to do. So I'm going to think about how I can connect these up, and we'll be right back. Well, the cards that I pulled in this particular hand are not that helpful. You can see here there's nothing that will connect to Final Blow. But the one thing you can do during your turn sequence when you're building out your sequence is you can discard cards at the end of your sequence. So if I don't like Final Blow being there, I can literally get rid of it and try to build something else instead. And Final Blow is great at 2, but if it's capping my ability to actually create a sequence, I can't leave it there. And Final Blow is much better used at the end of a sequence than at the beginning. It helped me in that situation to avoid anything nasty by getting a 3 on the combat table and stuff like that in terms of countering anything and losing some cards. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have to lose my cards anyway. So it's a little bit of give and take there and trying to feel out how you're going to actually defeat the enemy. But Final Blow at the start is not always the best because it's going to be very hard to get that double aggression at the very front of a card. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turf the Final Blow card into the discard pile. I'm going to try to connect these 3 in a way that's useful. Also remember though, I do and still have carried over the Discover Weakness card from the last round. So I do have 4 cards to work with. I might be able to build something from this. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually connect my attack improved version on the aggression there at the top. And that's going to give me 2 to my value plus the prep token, which is going to sit here. And I'll get an extra card on the next turn. So now I have 2 here plus my 1 for my hammers at 3, which is perfect because it keeps me away from 2s and 4s as a value. Because if that happens, I lose my entire sequence when the weird child attacks, which I don't want. Next up, I'm going to play the defend card because this is where I want to stop. So I'm going to play this card. I'm going to connect it right here because when it's a plus symbol, you can choose to use it as a double or a single. And I have the ability to use it as a double because I have double aggression attribute. So I'm just using it as a single here. And it's a defend. So it's going to defend and I end my turn right now. It's going to also block damage. So we go to the combat table for the weird child. It is a 3. So 2 damage to me, -1 from my armor, but then -2 from defend. I take no damage, but I do take a fear. This is where this this child is creepy because what's happening is my fear now for the first time ever is actually creeping up higher and higher. And you can see the insane is just 2 away. Now, if I go over this limit right here, if I go over that bar, what's going to happen is I'm going to be drawing 1 less card every single turn of combat, meaning I have just become petrified. I'm less composed. I've lost my composure and I'm just unable to fight as well. So it's bad. It's very bad. And we also know when we kill this silly thing, it's going to actually hit us for fear on top of it. So this thing is all about scaring you. We do have 2 more cards left over, so I have to choose between whether I want to carry over Discover Weakness or Hex. So honestly, if I was going to pick one, I would probably choose to go with Hex because it actually has a damage value on it. And it also, yeah, the damage value is nice. But it's a magic. I can spend 1 magic, and if I kill this thing, I gain 2 back, which would give me a total of 3. So yes, I could spend a magic and still be fine. So I'll take the one that gives me an extra point of damage. I'll get rid of Discover Weakness. I didn't really like that card that much, so this one will go. And at this point in time now, we come right back around to my turn. So I do have courage on the open end of this now, and so I'll get the extra card for that. I also get an extra card for this. So technically now I'm drawing 5 cards, plus I have the Hex that I've just carried over. So hopefully I get a really good draw here. So 5 cards going in. We're going to go ahead here and Outsmart is the first one. Okay. Reposition. End the turn after playing this card. Not exactly what I want right now. Powerful Attack. That could be good if I can set myself up to use it. Gather Strength. Okay, decent. And then Faint. Okay, so not a lot of crazy damage there, but maybe enough to get up to 6 because I have 3 currently. I might be able to make this work.
This seems pretty obvious. I'm going to use Outsmart. I'm going to connect it on my practicality, which gives me 1. So now we're at a total of 4. And then last but not least, I'm going to go ahead here and try to serve up a wonderful connection to a powerful attack. So I'm going to play Gather Strength, which is going to connect right here, giving me the ability to play a +2 card in terms of the attribute. And I'm going to use as my last card, Powerful Attack, which is a 2. And at that point right now, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6 from the hammer. We have killed the weird child. So we can now reap the rewards of taking this thing out. So we successfully took down the weird child, which was extremely weird. We are going to take another fear hit, sadly. So we are going to actually jump up and over our health limit, which is not good, because now if we deal with any more combat encounters, we'll be drawing 1 less card. And we also gain 2 experience, but that's a positive. We wanted that. So we get 2 experience. We have tons of experience to spend at the end of this day because we've done so much. And we also gain 2 magic, which was the sole reason we even bothered to deal with this thing in the first place. And we never spent any magic during our sequence. So now we have enough to go light the other menhir, which is huge and really opens up a lot of options. Now, as you can see, I still have one more energy left, so I can actually move into this other location currently, and then when I move into it, I have to automatically lose another one if I decide to move into it. So that's the interesting fact that I have to figure out is, do I want to move into the Titan Steps and lose that energy? So I'm losing basically 2, pushing me to exhaustion, which has festering wounds attached to it, to drop me down to 3, which is not good. Or do I just say, you know what, let's just stop right here, rest for the day, maybe take a location action here at the farmhold because we actually haven't done anything here before, and just take it easy. But regardless, we dealt with the weird child, so let's remove that, put it at the bottom of the deck, and we likely will go ahead and explore the farmhold we're currently at. Now, we have explored the first farmhold before, but there was quite a few different things we could do there, and we only chose to do one thing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spend an energy here. We're going to go ahead and explore this, and then I'm going to call it a day, and we're going to rest at the first farmhold and then journey up to the Titan Steps on the next turn, because I want to make sure that we get our full or almost full availability of energy back going into the next day, because it costs quite a bit just to light that menhir. So we're going to go ahead here and we're going to explore this. So we're going to flip this back over again. You guys will be reminded of the picture on the back because we did this earlier on. But I'm going to go ahead and read the other options that we have at this particular location. We'll choose one of those. Let's go ahead and explore this farmhold. Now, the first time we explored this, we actually checked out that menhir that's actually in the picture there, and it was a dead one. So we learned some things about it, but there's some other things we can do there in this location that are interesting. Like, we could climb the wall of the fort that's there, or we could comb through the remains of the farmhold, or we could visit a nearby watermill. I kind of like the combing through the remains of the farmhold or visiting a nearby watermill the most. Combing through the remains of a farmhold sounds like we might find something. So let's do that and see how it pans out. So verse 5. Small buildings of the farmhold seem to have shrunk under their own weight and age. Wooden beams supporting thatched roofs have bent downwards. Small windows gaze at you with an eyeless stare. You hear rustling and see something, or someone, trying to hide inside. You scramble to get it before it escapes. It turns out to be a miserable vagabond. He stands in front of you, terrified, hungry, and cold. His filthy rags are not doing much of a job at covering his bruised body. We can choose to give him something, and if we do give him something, we pay a food or a wealth, and then we move to verse 11 if we have 3 or more reputation. Otherwise, we go to verse 14, or we can leave him. So we can try to help him or not. And this is kind of a tough decision because I don't know whether or not I really want to give him food or wealth. I think he, you know what? Because I currently only have 2 food and I'll need one for the end of this day. If I give him a food, I'm putting myself into serious harm going into the next day with no food when my focus will be on putting up a menhir. So I'm actually going to be a horrible person here, and my character being he's a jerk that he is, he's going to just walk on. He's going to be a bad person. He's going to leave this individual and the exploration just ends.
So that is that, because I've got a job to do. I've been given a task, and I cannot give my food away if I've only got 2 food remaining, and I'm going to be eating one of it in a few seconds. So that is going to end my day and the exploration. So we're going to go ahead and flip this back over. So kind of uneventful, but we avoided anything nasty happening there by just leaving him there, which is kind of nasty. Maybe sometime we can return and give him some food. We'll see. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and trigger the end of day phase. So we've come to the end of the day. I'm going to go ahead and eat some food to keep myself going good. We did not exhaust ourselves, so festering wounds is not going to be a problem. We get to restore 1 health, which is going to push ourselves up over our fear, and our fear actually does drop down 1. So now we will be drawing a normal amount of cards during combat and diplomacy. Good thing the vagabond that we actually found didn't actually attack us, because we would have been in a weakened state. Very, very scared, and wouldn't have been so good. We're also, because we are not exhausted, going to actually restore all of our energy. For the first time in like quite a few days, we are going to go from 2 all the way to full. Now, I would love to be able to get that extra 1 from our ability card, but our cap of health is stopping us from getting that extra 1. But it's enough for me to move into the Titan Stairs on the next day, pay the extra energy to move in, and then pay 3 energy and end the day by lighting up another menhir. It's absolutely perfect. So we'll see how this all pans out in the end, but so far so good. Now we're going to move into experience. We have tons of experience to spend. We already know that I want to spend 4, so I'm going to spend 4 right now. I've been waiting to do this for a while. And we're going to be dropping 1 of these bonuses here into the empathy. So we finally have unlocked the ability to be empathetic. Even though we just literally left a vagabond fighting for his life, we are somehow becoming more empathetic by doing what we did. Maybe we're more empathetic towards the individual in the temple. I don't know. He's a twisted character. He doesn't, he's a very confusing guy. So that is going to be that. I do technically still have 2 more XP. I could go ahead and bump up some cards and stuff, but you know what? I'm going to wait. I kind of want to keep going with those attributes, get them bumped up so I can start using different types of cards. So that's good. We are also at the first farmhold, so we are going to get to go ahead and read the dream from the first farmhold, and that's going to come from entry 117. So I'm going to go ahead and read that for you guys. We may have read this before, but we'll read it again if we have. A tiresome dream of endless siege, constant attacks, and hope. Even in the dire situation, the first men on the island had plenty of it. Hint, there's always a way to gather enough resources to light up the next menhir. When you get stuck, just explore around. So we did actually have that particular dream before, so I just ripped through that fairly quickly. And now we're going to move into a brand new day, and you know what that means? Some dials are beginning to turn. So our original menhir that's still lit and keeping this area lit up is now ticking down to 2. Yikes. Getting closer and closer to the end of its life. But not only that dial is going down, but the dial which represents the temple in Titan Steps as well. The dial here at Titan Steps is also going to trigger and go down to 1. So we are going to be finding out very, very soon what exactly is going to happen there. And it's going to be kind of ironic because our character will likely be in that location trying to light another menhir. This actually has to be some kind of cruel joke. So we just got heavy rainfall, which is each travel after the first one costs 1 additional energy. Okay, no, actually, you know what? This is not so bad, because basically what's going to happen is I can go ahead and move 1 space for a normal point of energy, but any more movement than that is going to cost me additional energy. And my plan for the next day is to simply move to Titan Steps, where I automatically lose another energy, but I'm not moving any further, so I won't lose any additional energy. So this actually is a great time to get this card out of the way, because I'm just going to be heading towards Titan Steps while it's pouring rain, and then I'll be staying there. So I won't actually take any negative from this particular event card. So if anything, this was a perfectly timed event card for me. Now we head into during the day phase. So I'm going to have my character move from the first farmhold up to Titan Steps, which is going to cost us 1 energy, dropping us from 5 down to, or I should say 6, sorry, down to 5. And we have to pay 1 additional energy right away, and it forces us to go to the journal, where we can go ahead and choose to explore something if we wish. All right, so we're going into an exploration here, an explore step, which was forced upon us by moving into the Titan Steppes. And we're going to go ahead here and take a look at the options that we didn't choose already. And that would be only one major one, which is called Search the Hermit Caves. So we could decide to go search into the Hermit Caves, or we can choose to just leave and the exploration ends. And I'm actually going to go the safe route and choose to just leave. Not because I don't want to search the cave, but I only have so much energy and I don't want to do something that sounds like it's going to expend energy in order to potentially lose some energy that I need in order to activate the menhir that you can see there at the bottom of the card. I need to have 3 energy. Now, the other thing that I didn't notice when I was actually talking with the heavy rainfall card in the last segment there was that even though I've now paid 1 to move to the Titan Steppes and 1 as a penalty basically for that lightning bolt that forced me into the journal, I only have 2 more pieces of energy to spend and that are not going to exhaust me. Meaning, if I want to put a menhir down right now, I'm going to have to push myself into exhaustion, which does actually allow me an extra point of energy. So I could risk it and take a look at what's in there, and hopefully it doesn't hit me for too much energy now that I think about it. So let's do it. Let's check it out, see what happens. It can't be anything too bad, I'm sure. So we're going to go to 115 here in the journal book, and we're going to read this entry, which is verse number 7. This area was known for wild-eyed mystics and hermits pestering travelers, but their cave dwellings are now deserted and cleaned of any valuables. Why did hermits move out all at the same time? You keep looking for clues, but find none. You find all kinds of writings and profanities written onto the largest wall of the cave. You can see a message painted with a soot. Do not go to Camelot, 'tis a silly place. Exploration ends. Okay, so that didn't actually result in anything really happening, except that apparently Camelot is a silly place to go. Interesting. So what we're going to do now is we'll flip this location card back over to the other side like this. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to activate a menhir here. We know it's going to cost us 3 energy and 3 magic. So we're going to go ahead and knock ourselves down. So I'm going to be into exhaustion now, which obviously is going to hurt me for my festering wounds later on. But I need to get this menhir lit and I really want to progress the story. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pay 3 magic, and just like that, I have now got another menhir in play. When the menhir comes into play, it comes in at 7 minus 1 per player off the total, so it's going to start at actually 6. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to place a 6 right here, and we'll have the menhir sit like this. We still technically have this time dial here. It's still going to sit there, and it's still going to tick down and affect this particular location when it goes off, which is going to be very interesting. And now we get to actually reveal locations to the east and to the north of the Titan Steppes. So let's go ahead and find out what the menhir with the new light that has illuminated the land has revealed. So to the north of the Titan Steppes, we've actually found the road to Corbenic, and this area is unavailable in our demonstration. So this actually is interesting because this is one of the roads that basically from my understanding, would need to take in order to complete the journey that I've now grabbed here from Titan Steppes, which involves that Excalibur scabbard. So I'm a little bit... now that we're into the prototype, or near the end of the prototype, we're starting to see where the kind of the walls are starting to come up, and I'm not going to be able to maybe complete certain objectives based on what's provided here in the pre-Kickstarter prototype, but we'll continue on and see what else, because we technically still have a location to the east to reveal as well. So let's find out what that one's going to be. To the east of the Titan Steppes, we found the Plagued Burrow. So this is going to connect just like this, and you're going to notice right off the bat, the scenery is changing. It's starting to open up into what looks like a city. So the only thing that comes to mind in my brain in terms of our story so far is mentions of Camelot along the way. So we could potentially be actually moving in the right direction for that particular objective. But as we know, I'm not going to be able to go north up here in order to basically go down the road to Corbenic in order to fulfill the Excalibur scabbard kind of quest that we received from the temple, because it's blocked off for this Kickstarter prototype. But I'm guessing in the final version that will be another alternative path someone could go. What's really interesting here is the fact that there looks like, once I get into this location later on, there's a 200 location only to the east, but nothing north or south, which is really strange, because if I walk in there, if I did that right now, which I still have 1 point of energy remaining because I've chosen to exhaust myself to get this menhir up, so I still have 1 more point to spend, I could move in there. But the problem with moving in there is the fact that I can't reveal anything to the further east because it's too far away from my menhir. So the only thing that I'm going to be able to do is head down to the first farmhold, and I'll show you why. So with my last point of energy, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move my character out of this location at the Titan Steps, moving into the first farmhold, where finally now, because I have a menhir at this location, I can reveal this location 140, which you'll notice is tied to the Plagued Burrow. And my guess would be that there has to be a menhir here, because otherwise we would never be able to actually explore out over here to 200. So we're going to go ahead and find this card in the deck. And I got it, and sure enough, there it is. It's a menhir. Yep, you had to have it in order to get out that far. So it's called the Dark Morass. So this particular location is very interesting. We can have a dream there. We can also build a menhir there, which is going to be very important. So we're definitely heading out in the right direction. We can choose to search for a relic there by paying an energy and losing a health to gain a magic. So if we do need magic, we have another alternative here now, finally. And that would have been nice to have earlier, but it is what it is. But we do still have to reveal a purple encounter when we enter this location. So we're going to do that right now to end the day, because I no longer have any energy to spend. My energy is now fully depleted. The good news is I'm going to remember this time around that my hammer does 2 value on attack right off the gate, right out of the gate, I should say. So that's going to be great going into this, and hopefully the purple encounter doesn't cause us too much trouble. So let's get into some combat. Well, this is bad. Apparently I've run into an apparition, so that's not good. It says on the card here, your fears personified. It says you receive 1 unavoidable wound with each strike if you have any fear. And I do have fear, so what a bad time to be pulling that card. I have a fear of 2 currently, which is 2 up from, obviously, from 0. 2 up on the track of the fear track, which is not good for me right now. So it's going to basically be causing me wounds, which is going to cause me problems. This thing has a combat table. It says from 0 to 3, counter the last card, 4 plus the first and last, and we need 5 to take it down. We'll gain 2 experience and a magic if we happen to beat it. Let's go ahead and try to take this thing down in order to defeat it. I think we'll give it a shot. We'll try 1 round worth of combat and see where we get. If we do pretty well, we'll stick with it. Otherwise, we might want to flee to avoid any more harm. But we'll see how this goes. We'll set up for combat now. I'm obviously going to be going into this one using my Old Steel Smasher, which is going to give me 2 value on purple encounters right out of the gate. So that's already almost halfway there. We'll also be using my improvised armor to help me prevent any damage that comes through from attacks. So this one does say that I receive a 1 unavoidable hit. So I can block anything else, but the interesting thing is having this armor on for this particular fight means literally nothing, because all this thing does on its combat table is counter things. Its actual attack wound that it gives me during combat will not be blocked ever by this armor. So I don't even really need to wear the armor. I'll just take it away so I don't accidentally give myself a benefit there. And Battle Horn, as always, in case we have a courage at the very end of our sequence, we can gain a little bit of a benefit from the draw. We do not have our fear above our T marker for health, so we don't have to lose a card every time we draw up for our combat. So now that we know where we stand, let's get into the fight against the apparition. So let's go ahead and begin our combat here. We're going to go ahead and draw some cards. So the first card we've got is Outsmart. So we've seen this one before, but it's only really good against green encounters, but it does open up quite a bit of options on this side. It's actually really good. It can connect in really nicely at the start, so that's perfect. Risky Attack. I think we're fine just between these 2 cards alone. We should be able to make something happen that is greater than 5. We should be a-okay. And then, of course, Bull Rush, even better. So that's a perfect pull. We should be able to make this work on the first round of combat. So as you can see here off to the left, we need a value of 5 to take this thing down. I'm going to start it out with Outsmart, which is going to connect on Practicality, which I do have 1 point of on an attribute. We are going to put our time token here for preparation. Of course, this won't give us any benefit for this fight because it's not a green encounter card, but I'll just do it just for the mechanics. So in this particular case, we already have 1 plus the 2 for the hammer's 3. We just need to get 2 more damage. Now, you'd think that I would just throw my Bull Rush on, but you'll notice there's no way for me to connect those properly. I can't do that. So I have to actually use my Risky Attack. The really painful thing with the Risky Attack is, well, it's risky, and there's a chance not only that I can hurt myself, but I'm going to succeed. This is a great card to have because 3 plus 1 plus a 2 on my hammer is enough to actually
defeat it, but I still have to resolve whatever's on the card first, meaning I have to flip a dial, and if it happens to land on a skull side, I'll be taking some damage. But at least I do have my armor, which, even though I said when I was setting up I wasn't going to put on, is definitely on, because that would have been silly of me. And I'm going to go ahead and reduce it by 1. So the worst case, I'm going to take 1 damage here, but we'll see how it pans out. So flipping up the coin, knocking stuff over. I got the Grail finally when I didn't actually need it, which basically makes risky attack now a 5 and a 1 here, plus 2 on the hammer. That is going to be a total of 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. That's way more than enough. So we have easily destroyed the apparition before it even had a chance to do anything. Now it says here you receive 1 unavoidable hit with each strike if you have any fear. So when you get hit, the interesting thing with this one is when it talks about the word strike, my question really comes down to whether striking is me attacking or striking is the enemy attacking. Because if it's the enemy attacking, then as of right now, I never got a chance to attack, so it doesn't get the benefit of this. But it does say here you receive 1 unavoidable wound with each strike if you have any. So I don't think that I take any damage here, because I think that strike is specific to the apparition striking back at me. So in that case, I'm going to take my 2 XP. I'm going to take, and then 1 extra magic is going to come my way as well. So that's fantastic. So let's grab the player board and add those things in. So we have taken down the apparition and now are gaining 2 experience, bringing our total up to 4, which is awesome. It's going to give us a lot of different options when we go along to upgrading our character. And we also gain a magic. So we got 2 magic backs. We're not doing too bad in the resource category at least. And this apparition is now taken off the game board and goes to the bottom of the purple encounter deck. It is defeated. Now this is also going to end our day here in Avalon because we have run out of energy to spend. So we're going to go ahead and consume a food. Now, we're going to move into the wonderful restoring of our particular energy. And we would restore that energy if we're not exhausted fully, but instead we're going to restore it only up to 4. But first, before we do any restoration of energy, we always, if we have eaten, get to increase our health and lose a fear. So we're going to go ahead and bump our health up to 6, drop our fear down to 1, and our actual energy is going to come out of exhaustion, and it's going to move all the way up to 4 because it's the highest amount that we can potentially get. But then what's going to happen is festering wounds is going to trigger because, of course, we actually went ahead and exhausted ourselves. So we're going to lose a health. So basically it just cancels out that health gain we got from the food, and we stay where we're at. Next up, we have some XP to spend. So we have 4 XP that we can use to spend on something. And as of right now, it's kind of a tough call because we could... Actually, you know what? I really kind of want to put something in courage. So it would be kind of cool to put something on the diplomacy side too. It also would be interesting to get some more cards, but I might want to get the double courage because I've noticed in my combat deck that I have a lot of cards where double courage is, especially on the powerful attacks that are high value. If I can get the double courage in there, it could be really useful. And as of right now, it's very cheap because it's just 1, 2, and then the third placement would just be a 3 XP cost to get that extra courage in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So it's going to cost me 3 XP, which is going to allow me to put 1 in courage. So now I've actually maxed out all of the attributes on this side, minus the fact I haven't maxed out, of course, the cards. So this is a really important thing that you guys have to realize as well, is that it may seem like I'm able to go ahead and max out my attributes. That's all well and good. That allows for card combinations and things like that. But where it really helps is gaining these wonderful ability cards, which of course you have to pay 3 or more in a particular, you have to be getting your 3rd point in a particular attribute or more in order to gain them. And so far we've only ever gained 1, which was receive 1 additional energy at the start of the day. Now you'll also notice that I forgot to get that just now. So I'm going to go ahead actually, because I believe I should have done that, and bump my energy up by 1. So we're going to go to 5. There we go. Perfect. I'm glad I caught that actually by talking about the abilities. That worked out well. So we haven't missed anything now. I do have 1 experience left. I could spend it on some cards, but I'm going to hold on to it because I wouldn't mind actually trying to push myself towards getting an ability card. So if we can save some XP, that wouldn't be a bad idea either. At this particular time, we are currently at the first farmhold, and we have done the dream there before, so I'm actually going to skip that this time because we've read it before, and we are going to go ahead now and move into a brand new day. So a brand new day begins. We're going to go ahead and turn our menhir dials down by 1. So this menhir is going to go down to 1. So we only have 1 more day's worth of seeing everything on the outskirts here, including our own home, which we originally started out in before it goes into darkness and is consumed. The menhir that we lit already at 6 is going to tick down to 5. And the crazy time dial on the location card for the Titan Steps way at the top here has now finally disappeared. And we're going to go ahead and reveal the change in the land that happens at this location based on the siege of the temple. All right, so this particular card, 115, is now being removed from the game as specified by the particular mechanic, which said that once the time dial disappeared down to 0, that this card would be discarded and would be replaced by 125. And you'll notice something really interesting on the artwork of the card. It has changed. That location itself, this is the first time I've seen this happen in the game, which is really cool and shows that there are going to be persistent changes in the world to the locations. You can see here that the temple that once was fully established and going well has become fully engulfed in flames and destroyed. And this particular location has now changed. Now before it said Titan Steps, and when you moved in, you lost an energy and were forced to go into an exploration action. Now when you move in, you're forced to draw a gray encounter when you enter the location because the land's basically in chaos. It's lost its major temple in the area. And it says right there, the ashes of the temple are starting to cool down because it's already been destroyed. So I really like that. And just so you guys can see that change again, this is what it looks like now. This is what it looked like in the past. So the actual location itself has been destroyed. All right, so that's going to deal with all the dials in the game. We're now going to move to the new event card for this coming day. Oh no, the rains are actually getting worse. We now have a violent thunderstorm. This is the first time I've ever seen this card. It says lose a health each time you travel today. It's best to hide. So it's literally going to force us to lose some health as we try to move. Now, I really want to move towards the dark morass. Oh, this is going to be really, really interesting. Because I need to get a menhir lit in that area as fast as possible because I feel like time is kind of ticking down on me now that we are going to lose a menhir on the far west side of the board and we're at 5 on the current one. Oh, this is really an event card that's going to throw a wrench into my plans for the day. So the very first thing I want to do today is I'm going to spend an energy to move because I want to move regardless of the violent thunderstorm, which will hit me for a damage. So I'm going to drop from 5 down to 4 and my energy is going to go down by 1. But I really want to get over here to the dark morass. Now in this location, I can have a dream. I can also put up a menhir and light another one if I have the resources to do so. It also has a free location action that says search for the relics. I can pay a energy and lose a health in order to gain magic. So that's nice. At the bottom it says, perched in the shadow of legendary Camelot. Ah, check that out. There's a hint right there that we're definitely going in the right direction. So I wouldn't be surprised if what we're aiming to do up here at 200 is Camelot. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, that sounds pretty good because we don't have many more options going off the side here except for maybe 157. So one of these two have to be leading in that direction. It once housed the monastery of the All-Mother before it sunk into the swamp. Interesting. So we are here. I don't plan on moving any further throughout this day because of the violent thunderstorm. We're in a swamp. It's pouring rain. There's no point in trying to go anywhere else. So let's go ahead and spend another point of energy now, which will drop us down to 3. So we still have 1 more point of energy to spend after this on something without being exhausted. So that's good. But we're going to go in now and explore. So we'll flip this card over and see what it shows on the opposite side. Read it out. And we get a better visual picture of what's going on here. So it says, the smell of this swamp, enriched by the sewage of the burrow, perched at the top of the nearby cliff, makes your head spin. To navigate these foul waters safely, you need a pair of stilts or a flat-bottomed boat, just like the ones used by locals. They are happy to provide them, but for a price. You can pay 1 wealth or 2 food, and we don't have any food, so that's not an option. So wealth is probably what we're doing, or lose a health. So I'm going to go ahead and spend a wealth. I have 3 wealth. So one of my wealth tokens is being removed so I can get past that. So I'm basically paying them to gain me entry into the Dark Morass. And now we're going to move to the journal. The other thing that's really cool on the card you'll notice before we go to the journal is we can activate a menhir here later. And again, that's a free action except for the cost to actually light it up, which is to pay 1 energy, which I have, 2 food, which I don't have, and 1 wealth, which I have. So I need food. If I could find an encounter here that would gain me some type of food, I would definitely go for it, not only to get the menhir up, but also to avoid me going hungry tonight because I literally have nothing to eat. My options at the Dark Morass or the Plagued Burrow are as follows. Yikes. Try to locate the Sunken Temple. Okay, that's an option. Spend some time with the locals. Harvest roots and herbs, but only Ailey can do this. So that's only one of the characters within the game, and I'm not currently that individual, so I can't do that once. The only 2 options, or I could just leave, and I don't want to leave, I'd rather do something. So I can try to locate the Sunken Temple, or I can spend some time with locals. Now, technically, I have 1 other energy to spend this day without becoming exhausted, so I could come back and try to do this again. The only downside is every time I try to do this, I'm going to have to burn a wealth or something to get past this or lose a health or something like that. So there's a cost to get me to this location in the first place before I check the journal. So this place is not just like a free pass like the other ones have been in the past, or most of them have been. So, this is a tough one. Spending some time with locals sounds like the right thing to do to try to gain some food. Trying to locate a Sunken Temple doesn't sound like somebody's going to give me a whole bunch of food in the end. So I'm going to go ahead and spend time with the locals. This says, people tell grim stories about the denizens of the swamp. You're about to learn if they are true. This storyline is unavailable in our demonstration. Please go back to the starter location and make another choice. Rats! So I picked something that actually comes to a dead end for this particular playthrough because we're probably getting very close to the end. So because of this and because it's kind of a dead end and I'm not going to burn another energy in order to change something or pick something else, because that one truly is a dead end, I'm going to go ahead and try to do something else. Now, as I look through this particular journal right now, it looks like this entire location is actually unavailable for exploring in general. Every single path that I choose ends in that same message. So what I'm going to do is just move on. I will burn the energy because I did try to do it and I wasn't able to, because that's only fair. But I still have 1 more energy to spend, and we at least know now that there's no reason to explore in this location because we are in a pre-Kickstarter prototype that doesn't have that information flushed out in this particular product just yet. At least my copy anyway. So what we'll do is we'll flip this back around. So I basically paid to go out into the boat to find that out, which is kind of sad. But I do need to know this information about the menhir. But we now know that we need to get some food. Food is becoming very important, and where are we going to go? Now, the thing is, like I said, I still have an energy to spend. I don't really want to go anywhere. It might make sense to just stay here, because I don't want to exhaust myself, because that's going to hurt me later on. So I might choose to actually pass this particular day. We're going to probably call it quits so that I can end the day without being exhausted. I have made an abrupt change of plans. I am not going to stay still. And the reason for this is because the game has a big penalty that I have never run across yet. And that is when you start running out of food and you don't have food for the night, you start checking your energy at 0. In other words, you start the next day with 0 energy. And then if you actually are on 0 energy and you don't have food going into another day, you actually start taking wounds. So this is really bad, because not only is that a negative that I have to deal with for taking wounds, but also my character has festering wounds, and if he's hungry and exhausted, he's going to take a wound for each one, which is crazy. Now, right now I'm not exhausted, so I have the ability to spend 1 more energy, and it only makes sense to try to get somewhere that has food, because if I don't try to, I'm going to be in some big trouble. So I'm going to go ahead here, and of course, just so that there's no confusion, I'm going to move this menhir that should have been back on the Titan steps, because this is where this was originally put. I'm going to drop them like that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to probably try to move to Tangleroot, I think, because Tangleroot has the ability to get some food. So if I move from here, where I currently am, to the farmhold, I have to deal with a purple encounter. If I move to here, I have to go through either a blue or a gray. Purple is better for me because I have better strength with my hammer, so I'd rather go back through the first farmhold. So I'm going to spend my last
energy to go back to the first farmhold, but the only thing is I know for a fact that by moving there, I'm going to take a wound because of the violent thunderstorm, which is really nasty, and I can't stop it. Now, I have something to mention about all of this that you guys might be wondering why I'm making the moves I'm making. So I want to explain to you guys how everything's connecting here and how nasty this position I'm currently in is. I don't have any food whatsoever on my character board, and I'm coming to the end of my current day. So I spent my very last safe energy, as you can see, so I'm not exhausted, because I don't want to get hit by festering wounds. But when I moved from the dark morass to the first farmhold, the violent thunderstorm is going to hit me anyway for 1 damage, so I have to take that hit. And it's a loss of a heart, so I can't block it with armor or anything like that. So what I'm trying to do, and it may be hard to see this, but I need food. And the nasty thing about food is if you don't have it, as you can see right here on this card, it says if you can't, set your energy to 0. If it was already at 0, receive an unavoidable wound. So what ends up starting to happen is if you run out of food and you're playing true solo, you are in a fight against time to try to get to a location where you can either A, take down a green encounter, or potentially use a location action like gather food to try to get some food back. The nasty thing about this is the fact that if you're only going to go ahead and gain 0 energy at the beginning of the game, you have no energy to spend. So you would think that you're essentially stuck and it's an auto death. For me, I actually have this inexhaustible stamina card that I picked up through an ability, which allows me to get an extra stamina at the start of every day. So even when I'm exhausted and I have no food, this is where this is very important. It might have seemed like throughout the whole game there was no worry of things going sour, but food is very important, and you can see how crunchy this game can get in terms of all of a sudden things look very, very dire, because I'm going to be playing a little bit of min-maxing to try to get my character to either Tango Root to get a green encounter and get some food, or to Hunter's Grove. Hunter's Grove doesn't make much sense because I can't even pay 2 energy to do that, so really Tango Root is my only option to hopefully get some food. And I'm taking wounds as I go there, because I'm not able to I'm going to be hungry or exhausted based on my movements there. So this is really not good, and I actually might be in a situation where I could end up dying. And this would actually be a really sad way to die, but I might die of hunger here in the middle, trying to get back to something that I can use for food. This one here in whiting says to pay a food to get wealth. I don't want that. So truly the only 2 options I have for food that I know of is Hunters and Tango Root, and Tango Root is the most obvious choice. So I'm here at the first farmhold. I've moved back from Dark Morass. I have no more energy, but the second I moved into first farmhold, I have to draw a purple encounter again, because we're on a brand new day, and once per day the purple encounters show up. So we're forced to go ahead and fight, even when I'm trying to just barely survive. So let's jump into a combat and see whether I can handle this. And we have run into what is called a dread crawler. This thing says, all contents of a burial mound merge together into a crawling discharge. That sounds actually disgusting, and it looks like it's coming right for us. So this thing is huge. Now, first off, it's slow because it's basically the whole ground moving, so it's not a quick enemy, so it's actually going to give us an extra combat card when we're pulling our cards on our turn, which is good. Bad news is, if we win, we have to destroy any weapon we're using. Now, this is where the keyword using means a lot. It's not a keyword on the card, but it does matter, because when you go into a battle, you have a choice as to whether or not you bring weapons in with you. So basically what it's doing is it's saying, do you want to bring a weapon in to help you out, or do you want to hide it and not use it so that it doesn't get broken if you defeat this thing? So I'm actually not going to use my weapon, even though it gives me a +2, because I'm going to get an extra card from the combat because it's slow, and hopefully that'll make up for it. I don't want to lose my hammer. It's one of my best weapons I've been using through combat so far. Quite happy with it. It's a special card as well, and I really don't want to lose it. So this is risky though, right? Because that could definitely backfire on me. You can see here that it does decent damage in its combat table. It's got 2 hits, although I do and will definitely be going ahead and wearing my armor when I go into this battle to reduce any damage that gets through to me, so that'll help. My current health is at 3, which is not that high. I have the battle horn, as I always do, which is going to give me benefits for having courage on the end of my sequence. So let's dive into this and see if we can take it down. Cross our fingers that this does not do that much damage to us, or we could be in big trouble. And if it starts to do a lot, we may need to flee.
Now, this is a really important note about expending energy when you choose to flee. So it says here, through your travels, you may discover enemies far too difficult for your current character to defeat. And my current character is very, very beat up at the moment. If that happens, do not hesitate to flee. You will only lose 1 point of energy and receive 1 attack from this enemy. So 1 attack from this enemy would hit me for 2. My armor would block 1, so 1 damage would get through. Here's where the nasty thing comes in. It would push my energy down into exhaustion, meaning that in a twisted, evil way, it's going to make me have my festering wounds work against me at the end of the day and hit me for another damage. So essentially, I would actually be going from the current state of 3 health. I would go down 1 from the hit, and then when festering wounds happens to hit me at night, I run out of food, plus I'm exhausted, and it would actually kill me. So essentially, fleeing this particular encounter leads to an automatic death for me. Now, it's not death as in my character's gone, it just means I would be pulling the You Are Dying card, and we would be following that card trying to find a way to revive ourselves. But it would not be good. Or I can try to fight my way through this, knowing full well that I don't have too much of a choice. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw from the combat deck. I'm going to get 4 cards going into this combat, which should be somewhat decent. But again, this is not looking so hot. I'm going to need some serious defensive cards in order to get through this. I'm not using a weapon because I do not want this thing to destroy whatever weapon I'm carrying. Here we go. We're starting off with Feint. So that's good because this particular enemy can actually counter things, and it's possible I could use Feint to my advantage to get some points. Intimidate. This is good for a gray encounter, but not as useful for a purple one. But the bonus is it opens up a lot of options for keys, which I like. Hex. Ooh, this is good. I can use magic on Hex to gain +2. That's really good, actually. That works out nicely. It could end up being a 3. And then I have Defend. Woof. That was a nice card to get at the end. Thank you, slow-moving Dreadcrawler, for allowing me to have that defense card. That is going to be really nice at the very end of it. So let's see if I can build something that can keep me alive. So the first card of my sequence is going to be Feint, and I'm actually going to be attaching this one using magic. And I have 2 magic to spend, and I'm going to be spending both of them to make this work. So there's 1 point of magic there. That's going to give me an uncounterable card. Now we know from the combat table of this enemy, it has the ability, if we get between 3 and 5 on our value, which won't happen in this sequence, but later it hopefully will. Maybe, I hope. Then in that case, it will counter all value 0 cards and turn this Feint card into a stronger card. So that's kind of what my hope is. Intimidate here, we're going to go ahead and connect that on Courage, so I don't have to spend the magic. And that's going to give me a preparation token and for gray encounters, which is not really going to help me, but I'll do it anyway for mechanics. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to attach Hex on the very end of this one. We haven't used this one much at all, but I'm going to again have to use a magic in order to make this happen. I'm going to go ahead here and slide the sequence down so you guys can actually see what's going on at the very end here. But Hex is really cool because it actually impacts purple encounters. So it'll give us a preparation token that eventually on the next turn will turn into the card into a 3 card, which is why it's really important for me. And lastly, the one that we really want is going to connect Defend, which can really connect on a multitude of different areas here. And playing the card ends my turn and blocks 2 damage, which is exactly what we need to stop anything from getting through. So now we have finished, and my total amount of value across the board is 1 for Intimidate and 1 for Hex, landing us with 2. We are not using my hammer, so I don't get any benefits from that. And currently on the combat table for the Dreadcrawler, it says 2 would land it by hitting us for 2 damage, which my Defend card blocks, and my armor would also block as well, so I'm more than safe, no damage taken. But then it counters my last card, and my last card is my Defend card, so that is going to disappear on me. But I get to keep going, and the bonus is now I get to go ahead going into the next round, and this timer token is going to pop off, this one's going to pop off, and that just made going into this next round, it's going to make this card a 3 now, so we can put 2 more on it. So now we have a total of 3 here, plus 4, and we have 4 actually right now, which is not bad. And if anything happens to try and counter my Feint card, this Feint could turn into a 2. So we're sitting pretty good right now, and we'll see whether or not in the next round of cards here we get what we need in order to kill this thing. So we ended off with Courage on the end, so we're going to get an additional card. So normally we would get 3, the enemy's slow, so we get 4.
And we have the courage on the end, which means we get to activate our battle horn, giving us 5 card draw. So we should be okay, I hope. Famous last words. We have the careful attack. This one's decent. We have the powerful attack. That gives us wounds if we use it, which I don't necessarily want to do. Another faint card. A defend card, good if things don't pan out for us, and then discover weakness. Okay, so I'm going to go through these 5 cards and figure if there's a way we can get up to an 8 value of damage in this particular round. Now, you guys were probably screaming at me earlier on in the playthrough to let me know that I forgot about my Excalibur scabbard. I just remembered it. I forgot during the end of the last day when we were clearing things up that I should have gained a health back for holding on to this wonderful new item that I just received and have recently not taken the benefit of it. And so I'm supposed to be 1 health higher than I actually am right now. So technically, instead of being at 3, I should be at 4. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I make that correction right away, because that's huge and may help me get back to the Tango route. Don't want to forget about that. So I just want to let you guys know I did catch that. It's a bit late. That happened earlier in the at the end of the last round. But again, it doesn't affect gameplay in a major way. It actually just good to remind myself to check that particular card, because I get its benefit not only from my ability for extra energy of 1, but also the Excalibur gives me the extra health. So both of those benefits I should be getting going forward, which I'm certainly going to need when I'm starving. So we're going to move into what I'm going to do for this current sequence. So going into this next round here, we're going to go ahead and attach this on to practicality. So that's going to attach that. Feint is on there. We have 2 feints now that I'm hoping to flip into higher cards, and we're going to end with a defend to keep myself from taking any more wounds. I don't like the rest of my cards. They're not going to work for me. Currently right now in the row, I have a total power of, or value I should say, of 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's not bad. Not bad at all. Now, taking a look at the combat table, that would actually have the Dreadcrawler is still not dead, of course, but it would change its attack now to a attack of 2 damage, which I can block through my defend, and then it counters all 0 cards, which is where it turns all of my feints into additional damage. So now this feint turns into 2, and the other feint I have turns into 2. So technically right now I just went up 4 in damage, which is enough to kill it, but the killing doesn't trigger until the next round. It just turns them into 2s going into the next round. So basically it's kind of semantics at this point, because I basically have the 8 damage that I need, but I need to go through another turn and likely try to stop any damage that happens. And also technically, because this one is a 0, this one wasn't countered as well. This one was countered, and this one actually does get countered off completely. Defend gets removed, sorry. So if defend gets removed, the 2 feints go up +2 because of their ability cards. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull some cards here going to this round. So again, I have courage on the end, which is +1. The enemy is slow, so +1, so 5 cards, which is a crazy amount and way more than we actually need. So we'll just go ahead and draw our 5. We don't need them because we have got exactly what we needed in order to kill this thing. And we're going to basically end our turn right now. And our turn right now has 2 for feint here, 2 for the other feint is 4, 3 for the hex, and 1 for intimidate. Boom, that is 8. We have killed this particular Dreadcrawler. And now we're going to go ahead and gain 2 XP and 2 wealth. I really wish that was food. So we successfully killed off the Dreadcrawler, so we're going to go ahead and gain the reward. So 2 XP, which is nice. So we're going to go up to 3 XP now, and then 2 wealth. So we're very, very wealthy. I wish we could spend some money and buy some food. That would be fantastic. So we're going to take this Dreadcrawler, put it to the bottom of the deck, and we have now finished everything that I want to do on this particular day. We're going to go ahead now and we're going to call it a day. All right, so it's the end of the day. We're going to go ahead here and we're going to eat. No, we can't, because we still don't have any food. So because we can't, we are going to set our energy to 0, which is already in the exhaustion state, which is not good at all. So we also don't get the benefit of restoring health or reducing fear because we didn't have a chance to eat. So that's bad. And now we're going to go ahead and we are going to check out the bonuses that we get. So right now it says restore 1. Oh yeah, sorry. We'll do festering wounds first. So I am currently, or I wasn't exhausted as of the end of the last day. I ended on 2. So because of that, I don't take a hit to my health, but I do take a hit to my health for festering wounds for being hungry. So my damage is going to hit me for 1 there. But the good news in that situation is that I do have Excalibur, and Excalibur allows me to restore 1 energy during each, or 1 health, I should say, during each rest, so it goes right back to where it was. So we're still okay. Maybe not as bad as I thought we were in terms of a situation. And then I get to actually gain 1 energy back because of my inexhaustible stamina ability. So this is going to actually push me up. I'll still be exhausted going into the next day. So this is really bad. The end of the next day will be the worst because I'll be exhausted and I'll also be hungry if I don't get food. And that's probably going to happen because I can only move 1 space. So the end of the next day is going to be quick and very sad. So it's going to hurt me, but I'll make it, I think. So that is going to do it. I do have some experience to spend, which I could spend on some things, or I could just hold it. And I think at this point I'm going to hold it because everything I need for no matter which row I go for right now is going to be, it's going to end up being 4 XP no matter where I go here, if not more than that. So, and 4 XP is actually the highest you can pay. So I'm going to wait, I think, because I want to bump it up and get an ability that hopefully will help me out in the end. So we won't spend any XP whatsoever. We did stop at the farm hold. We've read that dream before. We'll skip past it, and we're going to move into a brand new day. So this current day is going to be a doozy. It's going to be a lot of darkness creeping in. It's going to be a menhir going out. It's going to be a very, very quick one for me overall. So I'll put this Violent Thunderstorm card away because we won't be using this. We'll be getting a brand new event here in a second. But first we're starting out with turning the dials. So of course the menhir that was here in Whiting has finally gone out. And with it, we now remove all location cards around it that the current menhir cannot touch. So it can touch here. It can still touch Whiting, but Mirror Lake has disappeared into the darkness. Hunter's Grove has gone into the darkness. Our farmhold, our home away from home, has gone away. The Conclave is gone, and the Derelict Fleet is also gone. So we've just lost a huge portion of the map with that menhir going down. So this is what the new world looks like with that other menhir going out. This is one of the coolest parts of the game, is how the map just constantly keeps changing based on where these menhirs are lit. And of course this one here is going to tick down as well. So it's ticking down to 4, which is getting ever closer to going out itself, which is not so good. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to reveal a new event card for this coming day. Finally, we got something good here. Good weather. Your first travel today is free. Oh, that's so huge. That's amazing, seeing as we need to make some good time. And I actually only have 1 energy. That's the perfect event card for this day. So we're going to be able to actually get to Tangleroot. Oh my gosh, this made this day actually a little less pointless. We might actually get some food. This is awesome. So good weather. Your first travel today is free. Experienced journeymen know to make the most of decent weather while it lasts. So I really want to avoid going through Titan Steps because I don't want to have to draw a gray encounter. I want this to be quick and easy. So I'm going to spend my 1 point of energy. Actually, sorry, I'm going to use my free move today from good weather to take me from the first farmhold here to Whiting, which is great. And then from there, I'll spend 1 energy, which puts me at 0 energy and fully exhausted to get into Tangleroot. Now at this particular point, I'm going to go ahead and draw a green encounter, cross my fingers that this gives me food, because this may give me the ability to get back on my feet. Now this is huge. We found ourselves a Royal Elk. Perfect. This is says in his panic-fueled attempts to run away from weirdness, he'll charge anything that looks like an obstacle. Fast, draw minus a card. Ooh, so this one's going to actually having us draw less cards when we go against this one. And the table for this one is also scary because if we do too much damage, it can run away. But the greatest news about this is it's going to give us 3 food if we can take it down. It has quite a bit of vulnerability to aggression, courage, and practicality, which are all the things I'm strong at. So hopefully I can take advantage of this right now so we can get back on our feet and stop starving. So when going up against this Royal Elk, I'm absolutely going to be running in there with my Old Steel Smasher, which is going to give me a nice +1 bonus. I'm also going to use my Battle Horn as I always do, and my improvised armor in case we happen to have any wild kicks to the face as we try to take this thing down. So this should be quite interesting to see whether or not we can take it down. It's 6. It shouldn't be too hard. We might even be able to do it in 1 round. It might take 2, but I need to get this food. All right, so we're going into this battle with only 2 cards because this creature is fast. So it's going to take some cards away from me. It's going to take 1 card away from my draw, and I don't gain anything from my draw just yet because I don't have courage on the end of my sequence. So I'm going to go ahead here and pull a card. We got Final Blow, not exactly the card you want to get off the start, but actually it does kind of work in a weird way. It does say at the bottom here, drop after the enemy attack if not last in the sequence. So there's that. And Surprise Attack. So those are not going to work. Oh, actually, those do work together. Well, that's interesting. I might actually be able to make that work. I don't know if that's enough to actually kill it. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. Okay, that actually works out really well. Let's go ahead and use that as our sequence. So we're going to connect right here on the Courage and Practicality. And it says can only be played as the first card, so I've done that. So that's 2. The Final Blow here is going to give me another 2. It says drop after the enemy attack if it's not last sequence. It's going to be last, so it'll stay there, which gives me 4. My hammer is going to give me an extra 1. So, so close to taking it out. Oh no, but that's the thing. If I do this, it's going to run away, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to have to go ahead and keep the old Steel Smashers out regardless. I put that out there at the beginning. But the Final Blow card, I'm going to hold on to this card and carry it over into the next round. So it's going to hit me for 2 damage, which I can block some of it. So I'm going to hold on to this card, and I'm going to leave that for the next round. So now it comes around to the Royal Elk. The Royal Elk is going to hit me for... Actually hits me for 3, because 2 plus the 1. So it's going to hit... Oh, it would counter my last card. It's going to remove my last card too. Oh, that makes the whole thing just a big mess. That's not what I wanted at all. That is not good. The Surprise Attack is really good. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pass. I'm going to completely pass on this one, because 0 is like me almost just kind of crouching up and deciding to basically just take it easy and not attack. And when I pass, I'll just keep one of the cards that I want. So I'll take Surprise Attack, I'll get rid of Final Blow, and I get an additional card draw in the next round because I chose to pass. So there's nothing in this sequence, although I do still technically am carrying a weapon, so I guess I lied. I do still have a weapon. So it's not really a 0. So that is going to hit me for 2, so I'll take the damage. It is what it is. At the end of the day, it would be countering all my cards regardless. So it is what it is. Nothing really changed. I don't want it to run away, so I don't really have too much of a choice there. But I've kept Surprise Attack, and now we're going into another round where I have... I don't get the advantage of my horn this time, though, so that's no good again. But I do get the ability to draw an extra card thanks to passing. So I'll be able to draw my normal 3 because this one takes away 1. So we're going to draw 3 cards, and I still have my Surprise Attack, which I can use, and hopefully I get enough to just combo up a really good hit. Heroic Strike, nice. Bloodthirsty Rage, even better. Oh my gosh, that was a great hand of cards. Let's see if we can make this work and take this thing down. So as you can see here with the 2 cards that I have, Heroic Strike and Bloodthirsty Rage, they both require an energy, which I don't have. So I can't actually sap any energy in order to use these cards, so they're no good to me. Now this is how I'm interpreting them. It could be that this ability basically happens after you play the card, and maybe I can use them, but thematically it doesn't make sense that I could do a Heroic Strike or a Bloodthirsty Rage with that kind of power if I didn't have the energy to expend in the first place to do it, especially when it notes it right on the card. So I'm going to say that I cannot play those 2. Again, this is a prototype, so I have to make some judgment calls there as to what makes sense. Surprise Attack here, I'm going to definitely be able to play now. It was sitting in my hand, so I'll connect it on Courage and Practicality. Either one works. I get 2 right there, plus my hammer's 3, and then I'll put the Defend on. The Defend will stop any nastiness coming through to me. So now it goes back to the Royal Elk. The Royal Elk is going to go ahead in its combat table and will hit me for 2, which I block with Defend, and it counters the last, getting rid of the Defend card. But at the end of the day, my Surprise Attack gets to stay, and I'm building out a sequence, which is great. So we'll move this all the way down to the end here. We're going to go ahead and draw some more cards. I don't have Courage on the end, so my Battle Horn's not going to help me out. I lose a card from the Royal Elk, so I'm only going to draw 2 cards this time, which is not good. Hopefully it's something decent. Nice. The Risky Attack. I love that card. This is actually, that's enough right there to do it, I think. Oh, no, it's not. I need something that connects it properly. Oh, got lucky. Amazing. Okay, so this card, these are the 2 cards I got. Perfect. Gather Strength is what I'll connect right here. And then I'll go ahead and connect Risky Attack. That's going to give me the 3. I'm going to go ahead and toss a dial. Of course, it really doesn't matter because at this point I have 6 anyway. But I have to toss the dial either way because it could hit me for some damage. Oh, I landed a skull, so it's going to hit me for damage. My armor is going to block 1 of that damage, but I will knock myself down to 2. And just as I do that, guys, my health's at 2 and my fear is higher. So now I would be drawing 1 less card on top of it. Yikes. You'll see that in a second when I go back to my game board where I'm currently sitting. But we have defeated the Royal Elk. Whew. Just barely, and we're really hurting. We're down to 2 health and no energy, so that's not good. But we got food. We did it. We somehow managed to get it. So let's go to our character board and get our spoils. All right, so we're going to go ahead here and gain our spoils from the Royal Elk, which is going to be 1 XP, bringing us up to a total of 4, which is nice. And the biggest thing we were after the whole time along was some food, giving us enough time to actually get out into the world and hopefully explore and turn on another, or light up another menhir, I should say. So we've now just resolved that encounter, and we have come to the end of the day, but you can see I am very weak. This is really bad. So as of right now, we have to go ahead and do our end of day because I have nothing else to spend and I'm not doing anything else here. So end of day is going to be eating to restore food. Thank goodness we just killed that elk, which essentially is going to give us an additional health for eating. So we actually get to gain a health because we ate some food, which is nice. So I'll bump myself up. I just knocked my fear token over. It should be at 1. And so I've gone up 1 there. We're going to go ahead and drop our fear down to 0, which is nice. So that drops down there. We might as well go ahead and gain +1 from our Excalibur as well. So we're going to go up to 4. And we also have to now talk about festering wounds. So we're not hungry this day, thankfully, because we ate, but we were exhausted. So that is going to, the festering wounds is going to knock us back down to 3. Still messing around with us a little bit. But now we're going to go ahead and gain our energy for the day, which is going to go up to a total of 4. And I do have an ability that would push me higher than that thanks to this inexhaustible stamina, but I won't get it because my T marker for health is capping me right now, so I can't have any more. There we go. So we got ourselves squared away, and we just avoided starving ourselves into a near death or you are dying situation. And when that happens, you get this card, we flip it over and we follow the card and see what happens. I haven't had that happen yet. I really don't want whatever happens on the other side of the card to happen because I'm sure it's bad. But we avoided it, and it took almost everything we had to get it done. So we've done that now. We're going to go ahead and we're going to spend some XP. We've got 4 XP to spend. We got to think about where we want to maybe bump something up. I'm kind of thinking that if we wanted to go for a 3rd point somewhere in order to get an ability card right now, we'd have to go for something like aggression, courage, or practicality. So if we go for aggression, it would actually cost us 1, 2, 3, +4 for the ability card we already have and stuff like that. So it would still be 4 because you only ever pay 4 XP to upgrade your to continue on. There's only 2, 3, and 4 listed in the prototype Kickstarter, but we would gain another ability card, which would be kind of cool in aggression. But we've already done aggression. It'd be nice to see what the courage cards or maybe practicality has. So I'm kind of tempted to do practicality a little bit. So maybe let's do that. So it's going to cost us 4, so we're going to use all of our XP. We're going to bump up practicality now, and this is going to allow us to get a new ability card. And this ability card, we have to go to the ability cards that actually line up for practicality. So the back of these cards, if you guys haven't seen them before, have the symbol on them. And of course, more of these are going to be added in as the Kickstarter is going along. And we're going to go all the way here to the practicality ones. So there's 2 of them, I believe, in this prototype set. Yes, so 2. There's actually far more aggression ones. There's 3 aggression ones to choose from, but there'll be a ton more, I'm sure, when the Kickstarter's done. 2 options we have here is this one right here. So this says, Brilliant Strategist. All double keys on combat and diplomacy cards count as a single key instead. Okay, so that just makes your cards more useful across the board. Or we can unlock this and choose the other side that says, Critical Strikes. If the last card in your sequence has a practicality or double practicality key opening, its value is doubled. Yikes, that sounds powerful. The next one over here we could choose from is Expert Forager. Whenever you gain food, gain another one. Oh, that's tempting now, especially after seeing what food can do to you when you're in trouble. Patient Under Pressure. You may keep any number of combat or diplomacy cards at the end of your turn. Wow, that's really good too, actually. Oh, that's tough. Although most times I seem to be using the majority of my cards, so that one doesn't seem as important. The food one sounds pretty cool because whenever you gain food, you're just gaining more food. And then it would keep me from having to get in those situations where festering wounds just keeps hammering me. I'm very low on health. I really want to try to get back up. It might make sense to be an expert forager. I just don't know when the next time I'll run into food is, though, because it's obviously scarce on the east side of the world. So you know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to leave it up to you. We're going to leave this shot up to you guys. I want to know, let me know in the comments below, what do you think I should do? Which of these particular abilities for practicality should I choose? We're going to stop right here anyway, because as of right now, we're in Tango Route, and we have done the dream here in the past, so we're going to be skipping past that anyway, and that's going to complete our day as well as this video. It's a perfect time to get your feedback as to what ability you think I should choose here, because once I pick it, that is what I get. I go ahead and I turn it, and it slots in here under practicality for the rest of the game. I know that aggression, I have one here for aggression. It's typically not in shot most times, but it's always here off camera, and it's just getting that additional stamina. I'm always remembering to do that unless the T marker is capping me and I can't get it. Thank you guys so much for your support. Let me know in the comments below if I missed anything. There's a lot of little things to kind of keep track of when you get into those situations, especially now that I have Excalibur giving me health and other things giving me energy. We have explored a ton of the land and seen so much, and the land of Avalon has also changed quite a bit. So just before we end this playthrough off, I want to give you guys a nice high-level view of Avalon and what it currently looks like. A lot different, hey, than at the very beginning when we started Chapter 1. The land has changed. We've progressed further inland. We've got a different menhir lit. The other menhirs have gone out. Even our homeland is no longer in view anymore. Now, we could always go back to Whiting in order to bring that menhir back if we wanted to explore over there, but to progress the story, it seems like we're going to need to head over to the Dark Morass to head that particular way. We've learned that there's alternate paths that you can go in different directions, but they're not open for the Kickstarter heading north, but they will be, of course, in the final version, so it won't just be one path heading out to the east. So things will change, of course, and it's really exciting. So thank you guys so much for following along the journey. Really hope this helps you see the game in a different light, and hopefully in a better light in terms of finding out exactly all the ins and outs of what's going on here. And I'm really enjoying playing through this with you guys. Your support as well as your comments and feedback along the way have been phenomenal. Continue to let me know what I missed in the comments below. If I have to make any tweaks, I'll do it at the start of the next video. Thanks again, and as always, keep on rolling solo.